Ladies and gentlemen, can you please take your seats? We'll get underway right now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome along to the St Florian's Day Awards for 2023. Can you please be upstanding for the entry of the official party? Thank you. You can please be seated. Welcome to the Dubbo Training Academy here in Dubbo, of course, and welcome to the New South Wales RFS and Florian's Day Awards for 2023. In particular, I'd like to acknowledge Commissioner of the RFS, Rob Rogers, AFSM, award recipients, Deputy Commissioner Peter McKechnie, AFSM, Deputy Commissioner Kyle Stewart, APM, Executive Director Trina Schmidt, Executive Director Stephen O'Malley, RFS Directors and Area Commanders, the RFSA Chief Executive Officer Ms Sharon Ellicott, RFSA President Mr Scott Campbell, Associate Chaplain Andrew Hunt, the RFS State Ceremonial Unit, Commissioner Shane Fitzsimmons, our former Commissioner AO AFSM, and apologies on behalf of former Commissioner Phil Koberberg, who was unable to make it today as well. Senior officers, service members, and importantly, all of the family and friends of those who are receiving awards today. Welcome. We are, this year, in the very fortunate position of being able to present an abundance of awards to recognise our well-deserving members, so many so that this is actually the second of two ceremonies that we've held today. This morning we had the pleasure of being joined by Mr Lewis Burns. He's a proud elder of the Tubbergar people of the Wiradjuri Nation, and he warmly welcomed us to this country here. So with that in mind, I too would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we're meeting today, the Tubbergar people of the Wiradjuri Nation, and recognise their continuing connection to land, water and community. I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people present here today. Can you please be upstanding for the National Anthem? If you don't know the words, they are in your booklet. Please be seated. The 4th of May is a very special day for us here in the RFS. It is St Florian's Day, of course, named after the patron saint of firefighters. In your program, and for those who are streaming this event online this afternoon through the RFS website, you will also find the story of St Florian. A story from more than 1700 years ago. St Florian was sentenced to be burnt alive and promised to return climbing up into heaven on the flames. It's claimed that a life was saved during a fire as someone yelled out his name, and a tale as well where a brewery was saved from fire with a single pitcher of water. So as well as being the patron saint of firefighters, he's also the patron saint of brewers. And as we said this morning, firefighters in a brewery, what could possibly go wrong? It probably answers that question. Yes, fireys could organise one in a brewery. So, St Florian's Day, it's a very important and special day for us, a solemn day, but also a celebration. And it's great to be able to mark it here with you all today at this very special event. I would now like to invite the RFS Associate Chaplain, Pastor Andrew Hunt, to offer a prayer for firefighters.
Thank you. Almighty God, on this day we remember the courage and dedication of those who in days past undertook fire protection in the bush and in the grasslands, thus pioneering the rural fire service we know today. Especially on this day, we remember the supreme sacrifice of the few for the many in the performance of their duty in times of fire and emergency response. Grant that, being inspired by their example, we may follow them in their endeavours to work for the community where protection and neighbourly love reign supreme. Bless the recipients of the medals and certificates presented this day, and may they always be to their wearers reminders of the calling they have accepted. A calling to think of service, not self. A calling to perform duty, not follow personal desires. May the medals be worn with honour and pride. We pray for your continued protection and blessing upon all today. We acknowledge family and friends who have supported the recipients. You share in this honour bestowed on your loved ones today. Grant that there may never be a shortage of men and women of courage, character and integrity who will volunteer to train and serve in the course of fire and emergency protection. Lord, hear our prayers and bring peace to all men. Amen.
Thank you, Andrew. I would now like to ask Commissioner Rob Rogers, AFSM, to come forward to address the ceremony.
Thanks, Anthony, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for making the trip to be here. Can I just acknowledge also the award recipients and their family members that are here and have made the trip today, and it's really special for us, as I hope it is for you. My executive colleagues, RFSA, Scott, President, and Sharon, CEO, thank you very much for making the trip. And also just want to call out and thank former Commissioner Shane Fitzsimmons for making the trip. Thanks very much for being here, Shane. It's really appreciated, and Shane will continue, I hope, to continue to stay very close to RFS, and he will always be welcome at any events we have going. I had hoped to have former Commissioner Koperberg here as well. Up until yesterday, he was going to try and come up, but he unfortunately is just not well, and he just wasn't able to make the trip. So he does send his apologies. He did want to get up here, but unfortunately just not to be. But look, it is a pleasure to be here, to be with you, to celebrate just the wonderful achievements of RFS members. It's just amazing when you look at the booklet and you just read all those stories of what people have done, whether it's people, frontline things people have done, saving lives, preserving lives, saving property, to people that are making a big difference in the national space, things like the fire danger rating system, things like that, where the RFS has led that nationally, and it's an immense credit to our people. And it just goes to show that our people are versatile. They do all manner of things. It's, whether it's helping out at a fire, whether it's flood rescue, whether it's technology things, whether it's helping out in COVID, whether it's Varroa mite, whatever sort of gets thrown at the community, you'll find RFS members there. And it's incredibly proud for me to see what our people do and the incredible work they do day in, day out. And we saw that over these recent times with the rain that has fallen and just the floods across such a large part of the state. And where RFS members, without specific training and without specific equipment, absolutely put themselves in harm's way to save lives. And they made a huge difference. Because if we'd the difference is that the RFS members are where that's happening. They're not travelling to that area, they're there. And that's where we're very much now going to be providing new equipment for people in those flood situations that they can actually keep themselves and obviously help the community keep safe. And that's recognising the fact of, again, what RFS brigades have been doing. And they've demonstrated that over the last couple of years. This morning we presented the Award for Valour, which is the first time we've presented that in more than a decade, and that was to Deputy Group Captain Phil Blackmore of the Central Coast for selfless valour in very dangerous conditions without regard for his personal safety in relation to an acetylene cylinder, a car explosion in Guanzalun, where him and an off-duty paramedic did their best to sustain life to someone whilst there was imminent risk of further explosions because there was more cylinders in the car. So incredible sort of bravery that we looked at. This afternoon we're presenting awards to 24 individuals and 14 units, recognising entire crews, brigades and obviously diverse teams. And we'll hear more stories of dedication, achievement and professionalism. And we'll see, obviously, and we saw at the tail end of the last fire season, starting to see a turn in the weather. It's becoming a lot more drier and we're starting to see more fire. And that's something that obviously we're planning for next season, because I think it's inevitable that we're going to start to see a return to more traditional fire seasons. And with the grassland in the western part of the state, then that's obviously going to pose some challenges. But whether it's fire, flood or COVID or whatever else comes our way, the big thing that stands out is our people and what our people do and the way they throw themselves into these activities. And it's just with a genuine want to help people that are having a really bad day and trying to make their lot a little bit better, a little bit safer, or in some cases saving lives. And whatever it is, our staff and volunteers are there. That's demonstrated most recently with the teams that are up in the Northern Territory helping with a base camp for Indigenous people that have been dispossessed because of floods and looking after them. And we'll have that base camp in place for a couple of months, helping out the Northern Territory government. And it just goes to show that the first people they come to is RFS. And because that repeated on some work that was done a few years earlier in Elcho Island in the Northern Territory. And again, it just shows the reputation of the agency and the professionalism of the people. So whatever it is, flood waters, fires, whatever, our people are there. But I think also as I mentioned before, things like the innovation in places like the fire danger rating system, the scientific innovation, that is a game changer for the country as a way it looks at fire. And today we're going to be talking to and recognising the team that put that together. Again, it's something that I'm incredibly proud of the work. Members have demonstrated immense courage, though, in very challenging situations. But at the same time they're doing that, they're running businesses, holding down jobs, keeping families going, and they're doing it in a large case with our volunteer membership while they're doing all those things. So it's not just that's the only thing they've got to do, they're doing everything else. So I just would like to acknowledge that, but also acknowledge the families that have supported them. Because if we don't have the families supporting those members, those members won't be able to do what we want them to do. So just a big shout out to the families, and if we could just give a round of applause to family members that happen to be here today. Because look, without what you are as deserving of the award that the recipient is. And I think what we're recognising today, this morning and this afternoon, it's the tip of the iceberg of the work that goes on every day across this state. People just doing extraordinary things, and it's a bit of a coin phrase, ordinary people doing extraordinary things, but it's absolutely a daily occurrence for RFS members. And we've just seen that change over the last few years, doing more diverse roles, medical assistance, a lot more medical help, and now moving a little bit into that flood space to try and be there for communities. And that's not for anything about, it's not about empire building for the RFS. This is about our people are there, and we want our people to help the communities that they're serving. And our brigade members are from those local communities, and often they're the only service in those communities. So hence why we're doing things like road rescue now, and obviously doing some more flood work to make sure that we can help our communities. So it's incredibly proud for me to be here, to be able to present these awards. I thank you very much for coming out here to Dubbo. I hope for those of you that haven't had a chance to be at the Academy before has had a bit of a chance to look around, and I hope you agree that it's a fitting place for us to have these awards in rural New South Wales, and it's very much geographically the centre of the state. So I'm quite happy having them out of Sydney and having them here. So thanks very much for attending. Congratulations to all the award recipients, and look forward to catching up with you after. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Don't get too comfortable, because we will start the presentations in just a moment. As Rob said, this is the second awards ceremony today, so we have taken the time to group a lot of the awards together instead of in the order in your booklets, and that's so that brigades and members can celebrate for the similar events and with their fellow brigade members. You can certainly try to follow along in your book. But to the families and the friends here today, don't be afraid to come down the front and get a photo when your loved ones are actually getting photos. That is completely fine. We've got Adam down here taking photographs, so muscle him out of the way. He doesn't care. Come on down and get photos if you would like to. We will introduce the recipients, and if you could please hold your applause until the end when the award presentation takes place. So, Commissioner, if I can invite you up for this afternoon's awards presentations. Our first award this afternoon is the Commissioner's Commendation for Service Individual for Firefighter Daniel Andrews, Mid-Murray Area Southwestern. Goodnight Brigade firefighter Daniel Andrews is recognised for his service to the community in Western New South Wales during the protracted and challenging flood events of 2022. Over 3 months, firefighter Andrews assumed the role of Sector Commander for the Tooleybuck Goodnight sector, demonstrating exceptional leadership not only to the emergency response agencies but also to the local communities. His preemptive planning, including seeking out those with experience of the area's record 1956 flood to gain intelligence and understanding of likely flood behaviour, helped save many properties from inundation and prevent damage to infrastructure. Leading a sector of local, out-of-area, interstate, mitigation and council crews, firefighter Andrews conducted reconnaissance, organised resources, briefed and tasked crews and coordinated works with locals and council while keeping the community informed. Firefighter Daniel Andrews demonstrated leadership and commitment far beyond expectations throughout the 2022 flood event and is a deserving recipient of the Commissioner's Commendation for Service. The Commissioner's Commendation for Service Individual, Captain Neville Batatusi, Northern Rivers, Area Northeastern. Clunes Brigade Captain Neville Batistusi is recognised for his service to the community and significant contribution to the response to catastrophic flooding across the Northern Rivers in 2022. Record flooding on the Wilson and Richmond rivers in late February and early March caused widespread devastation in Lismore and surrounding communities. For the next month, Captain Batistusi worked tirelessly to coordinate and task crews to respond to an unprecedented number of requests for assistance, often in the most challenging of circumstances. These included deploying RFS members to help notify the public of impending flooding, evacuate residents in low-lying areas, provide transport for medical supplies and other emergencies, help residents clear out their ruined possessions and hose out mud, sludge and sewage from homes, businesses, schools and other public infrastructure. For his contribution to the success of the flood response operation, skillful coordination and support for the community, Captain Neville Batistusi is a worthy recipient of the Commissioner's Commendation for Service. The Commissioner's Commendation for Service individual, Group Captain Dale Bowles, Mid-Murray, Area Southwestern. Group Captain Dale Bowles is recognised for his service to the community in Western New South Wales throughout the protracted and challenging flood events of 2022. Over 3 months, Group Captain Dale Bowles assumed a number of sector command positions at Moama, Tulibuck, Goodnight and Moolameen. Initially working at Moama, he demonstrated strong leadership and management ability. Establishing a sector base at the Moama RFS station, he controlled a multi-agency response involving the RFS, the New South Wales State Emergency Service, Fire and Rescue New South Wales Police, Council and assisting agencies in a high-intensity, complex and dynamic environment. He briefed, tasked and coordinated all attached crews, determined resource requirements and managed logistical support for the sector. Once the threat to Moama had eased, Group Captain Bowles relieved other sector commanders further west at Moolameen, Tulibuck and Goodnight. Group Captain Bowles' leadership, management skill and commitment make him a deserving recipient of the Commissioner's Commendation for Service. The Commissioner's Commendation for Service individual, Captain Alicia Buckley, Mid-Murray, Area Southwestern. Moolameen Brigade Captain Alicia Buckley is recognised for her service to the community in Western New South Wales during a protracted and challenging flood event in 2022. Assuming the role of Moolameen Sector Commander throughout the 3-month response operation, Captain Buckley demonstrated exceptional leadership not only to the emergency response agencies but also her community, which experienced a record flood exceeding the 1956 level. She skillfully managed local and out-of-area strike teams, interstate crews and mitigation crew and council personnel, all working to prepare Moolameen for rising waters and the continued battle to maintain levees and sandbag properties to hold back the flood water. Captain Buckley briefed and tasked crews, coordinated work to defend the town, rallied the community to fill sandbags and became a community focal point for information and assistance. For leading the Moolameen sector and her community with distinction, Captain Buckley is a most deserving recipient of the Commissioner's Commendation for Service. The Commissioner's Commendation for Service individual, Group Officer Robert Graham, Northern Rivers, Area North Eastern. Northern Rivers Group Officer Robert Graham is recognised for his significant contribution to the success of the 2022 Northern Rivers flood emergency response operations. Record flooding on the Wilson and Richmond rivers in late February and early March caused widespread devastation in Lismore and surrounding communities. For the next month, Group Officer Graham worked tirelessly to coordinate and task crews to respond to an unprecedented number of requests for assistance, often in the most challenging of conditions. These included deploying RFS members to help notify the public of impending flooding, evacuate residents in low-lying areas, provide transport for medical supplies and other emergencies, help residents clear out their ruined possessions and hose out mud, sludge and sewage from homes, businesses, schools and other public infrastructure. For his contribution to the success of the flood response operation, skillful coordination and support for the community, Group Officer Robert Graham is a worthy recipient of the Commissioner's Commendation for Service. The Commissioner's Commendation for Service individual, Captain Barry Morgan, Northern Rivers, Area Northeastern. Mamolgam Brigade Captain Barry Morgan is recognised for his significant contribution to flood operations in his own community and Western New South Wales. Record flooding on the Northern Rivers in late February and early March 22 caused widespread devastation in Lismore and surrounding towns and villages. For the next month, Captain Morgan worked to assist impacted communities across the Northern Rivers, helping notify the public of impending flooding, evacuating residents in low-lying areas and providing transport for medical supplies and emergencies. He was also on hand to help distressed residents clear out their flooded possessions and to hose out mud, sludge and sewage from homes, businesses, schools and other infrastructure. When the flood situation eased on the Northern Rivers, Captain Morgan volunteered for divisional commander roles in flood operations in communities including Parkes and at Wentworth. Captain Morgan's demonstrated commitment and service to the New South Wales community makes him a worthy recipient of the Commissioner's Commendation for Service. The Commissioner's Commendation for Service individual, Operational Officer Level 2, Bradley Stewart, Riverina, Area Southwestern. Operational Officer Level 2, Bradley Stewart is recognised for his selfless courage in rescuing a motorist and New South Wales police officer caught in a life-threatening situation in floodwaters on Crooked Creek at Lake Albert on the 31st of October 2022. Receiving a pager activation reporting a car had been swept off a causeway near his home with the driver trapped inside the vehicle, Mr Stewart responded to the scene. He found a New South Wales police officer and the female driver trapped in the fast-flowing water, holding on to a fence to prevent them being swept away. The vehicle was fully submerged. Focused on assisting the pair, Officer Level 2 Stewart advanced along high ground before entering the water and moving to a point where he was able to reach out and help them to safety. He then conveyed the driver for assessment by a New South Wales ambulance crew. For his courage in acting to save the lives of two people in peril, Operational Officer Level 2 Stewart is awarded the Commissioner's Commendation for Service. The important photographer. The Aviation Rescue Crew, State Operations, Operational Field Support HQ Area, Greater Sydney. New South Wales Rural Fire Service Aviation Rescue Crews are recognised for their courage and skill in completing more than 250 rescue missions, in challenging conditions during flood events across New South Wales through 2022 and 2023. Record-breaking rainfall across northern New South Wales during February and March of last year resulted in devastating flooding and widespread destruction in numerous New South Wales communities. New South Wales RFS aviation rescue crews successfully performed 71 rescues, often in dangerous and challenging weather conditions, to rescue people trapped by the rising floodwaters. Over the following 18 months, communities across large areas of the state were impacted by major and protracted flooding. The aviation rescue crew performed a further 118 rescues and 1,003 operational standby shifts to support the New South Wales SES flood response. In the early hours of the morning of the 14th of November, the township of Eugowra in the Central West was struck by rapidly moving flash flooding with little warning, forcing residents to seek refuge on the rooftops of their homes and in other buildings. Aviation rescue crew members conducted 67 rescues by helicopter in highly complex and challenging conditions. This is the largest number of successive rescues performed by RFS rescue aircraft on any single day. RFS aviation rescue crew members are required to maintain a high level of fitness and currency, in addition to the provision of training to other volunteers across the state. The level of bravery, professionalism and dedication displayed by these members is of the highest order, resulting in the preservation of hundreds of lives across the state. The New South Wales Rural Fire Service aviation rescue crew are deserving recipients of a Commissioner's Unit Citation for Service. The Commissioner's Unit Citation for Service to Wombar Rural Fire Brigade, Clarence Valley Area, Northeastern. The Wombar Brigade is recognised for its members' valuable assistance to the Goodwood Island community during the Northern Rivers flood emergency of February 2022. The brigade was activated when an evacuation order for the island was issued on the afternoon of the 27th of February, tasking crews to begin door knocking to prepare the residents for relocation. Captain Jason Nelson and Deputy Captain Christopher James proceeded to the island, finding a foot of water through residential areas, including the caravan park, where residents were becoming concerned. With water levels rising quickly, they prioritised initial assistance for a distressed mother with a baby and toddler and an ill male resident who needed help to move his car and boat. Once they were safely relocated, the captain and deputy returned to the island where the water had risen to 1 metre in depth to continue advising people to leave and helping 4 more residents to relocate. Captain Nelson continued to assist the community and support agencies to resolve a variety of issues over the next week. Using his own boat and vehicle, he carried out welfare checks and reconnaissance of the roads, resupplied essential goods, accessed medical services and coordinated a local community meeting. When the floodwaters receded, brigade members worked to help residents and businesses on the island and the wider Harwood area with the flood clean-up. Captain Jason Nelson and Deputy Captain Christopher James performed duties above normal expectations during this event, using their experience and skill to assist in their community and work with other agencies and community organisations. For its commitment to the wellbeing of community members in need, the Wombar Rural Fire Brigade is a worthy recipient of a Commissioner's Unit Citation for Service. As the Commissioner said just a few moments ago, Today we're acknowledging a very important project that has been delivered through the RFS in recent years, and that is the Australian Fire Danger Rating System. From its early stages in development and planning through the Rural Fire Service to rolling it out across Australia with our partners, this has been a significant undertaking by a very dedicated team.
Australian fire danger ratings are important for the community and also our fire agencies to be prepared for bushfires.
The nationally consistent project ultimately will contribute to saving lives, not only in New South Wales and across the country.
The old fire danger rating system had been in use for over 60 years and a lot of the science was really out of date. So this project was so important that it brought that science up to date, but it also gave us better, simpler ways of communicating with the community.
It's a great honour to be recognised for this work that we've done. It definitely has been a team effort, and it's great to see that this really important nationally significant project is being recognised.
It's a humbling experience to be recognised, but more so to know that the team and I led the project down the right track for the right outcomes at the right time. And ultimately we delivered something which is going to save lives across New South Wales.
Look, it's really wonderful to receive this award. It was a big project. It took a lot of effort from everyone in the team, and so to have that recognition from the service for the significance of the work is really humbling and means a lot.
The Commissioner's Commendation for Service individual, Dr Stuart Matthews, RFS HQ, Area Greater Sydney. Dr Stuart Matthews is recognised for his achievement as the Principal Project Officer for the Australian Fire Danger Rating System between 2017 and 2022. His project of national significance was led by the New South Wales Rural Fire Service in partnership with AFAC and the Bureau of Meteorology on behalf of all states and territories. Launched across Australia on the 1st of September last year, the new AFDRS has significantly enhanced the way we understand and communicate fire danger, providing more accurate and timely information to the community, firefighters and land managers. Dr Matthews worked with the nation's leading scientists to develop, prototype, test and build the innovative new system. Despite the technical complexity and the numerous agencies involved, Dr Matthews excelled in stakeholder engagement, remaining solutions focused to deliver the project on time. Dr Matthews' work has left a remarkable legacy that will serve our nation for many generations to come. He is a worthy recipient of the Commissioner's Commendation for Service. Adam, you're right to fix that in Photoshop afterwards, aren't you? Yeah, perfect. The Commissioner's Unit Citation for Service, AFDRS National Project Group, HQ Area Greater Sydney. The Australian Fire Danger Rating System is the most significant change to the way that fire danger is assessed and communicated in more than 60 years. The AFDRS project was a joint initiative of the RFS, AFAC and Commonwealth, with RFS representatives on the National Project Group providing leadership, technical expertise and innovation, leading the development and application of new scientific models to calculate fire behaviour. 8 new fire models were incorporated into the new system to ensure the system is accurate and relevant to local conditions. The team was also instrumental in the development of public messaging and action statements and a national public education campaign providing clear advice to the community and ultimately helping people make safer decisions during fires. The project was an example of national leadership which has delivered significant benefits to the emergency services sector and to the community. The Australian Fire Danger Rating System National Project Group is a worthy recipient of the Commissioner's Unit Citation for Service. When you're up the front running the awards, you can do whatever you want. I won't do it for all of the awards. The Commissioner's Unit Citation for Service, AFDRS, New South Wales Project Implementation Team, HQ Area Greater Sydney. The Australian Fire Danger Rating System, New South Wales Project Implementation Team is recognised for its leadership in the introduction of a new system that will ensure Australian communities are better prepared for the risk of bushfire. The Australian Fire Danger Rating System was a project of national significance led by the New South Wales Rural Fire Service in partnership with AFAC and the Bureau of Meteorology on behalf of all states and territories. It developed and delivered a national approach to assessing and communicating bushfire danger ratings to communities in the most significant change to the system in more than 60 years. The rollout of the system within New South Wales was complex, including changes to key operational systems and doctrine, development of training systems, change management, community engagement, partner agency collaboration and the replacement of more than 500 roadside signs across the state. This team ensured changes were implemented in a way that supported our members' understanding within a narrow time frame that could not be shifted. Many of the initiatives and material developed as part of the New South Wales implementation project were shared with and used by other states and territories, demonstrating a high commitment to collaboration and maximising consistency and value for the community. The project was an example of national leadership and collaboration which has delivered significant benefits to the emergency services sector and the public, ensuring Australian communities are better prepared for and aware of bushfire risk. The Australian Fire Danger Rating System New South Wales Project Implementation Team is a worthy recipient of a Commissioner's Unit Citation for Service. I'm also part of this one.
Really?
Scott, I promise I won't sidle up on this one. The Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation, Individual, Group Captain Scott Campbell, Clarence Valley, Area Northeastern. Group Captain Scott Campbell is recognised for his commitment to ensuring the safety of a member of the public trapped in hazardous conditions. On the 24th of October 2022, an urgent call was received to assist a motorist stranded in floodwaters in his vehicle near Kangala. Arriving on scene, Group Captain Campbell saw fast-moving water was hitting the passenger side of the vehicle up to the level of the door handles with a male occupant inside and unable to escape. Knowing further assistance was likely to be still some time away and observing the escalating conditions and motorist distress, Group Captain Campbell took swift action. Entering the water, he retrieved the man from his vehicle, leading him to safety. He subsequently assisted New South Wales Police to recover the vehicle from the water, preventing a public hazard. Group Captain Scott Campbell's actions and service were above expectations in an unfamiliar situation, making him a worthy recipient of the Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation. The Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation individual, Mr Andrew Peter Collins, Capability Area Southwestern. Mr Collins's professionalism and dedication was integral to the successful operation of the Deniliquin Base Camp during extended flooding operations in Western New South Wales during late 2022. In his roles as Base Camp Management Support Officer and Community Liaison Officer, Peter ensured the needs of RFS and other personnel accommodated at the camp were met throughout their deployment. Mr Collins and his team managed any challenges that arose, exemplified when a storm struck on the 19th of November, causing an electrical outage as dinner was being served. Mr Collins worked with mitigation crew members in the pouring rain to move generators around the site to re-establish power to the kitchen and mess tent area and large freezer. He then worked with an electrician to ensure the provision of essential equipment and resourcing to maintain service for 24 hours should power not be restored. A passionate and dedicated employee, Mr Peter Collins is a worthy recipient of the Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation. The Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation individual, Firefighter Campbell Kenyon, Far North Coast, Area Northeastern. Firefighter Campbell Kenyon is recognised for his contribution to saving the life of a patient suffering a cardiac arrest on the 13th of March last year. Firefighters Kenyon and Neil Wheeler were at the Wardell Brigade Station during clean-up operations in the aftermath of the Northern Rivers floods when a member of the public drove up to seek urgent help for the man. Accompanied by Lieutenant Doug Mayfield from the Australian Defence Force, the firefighters arrived on scene within 8 minutes. Employing an automated external defibrillator and CPR, the men sustained the patient until paramedics could arrive. Their prompt action and knowledge of CPR and the use of the AED made a vital contribution to saving the man's life. The patient has since been reunited with the firefighters, expressing his thanks for their life-preserving efforts. Firefighter Campbell Kenyon's actions make him a deserving recipient of the Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation. The Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation individual, Firefighter Neil Wheeler, Far North Coast, Area Northeastern. Firefighter Neil Wheeler is recognised for his contribution to saving the life of a patient suffering a cardiac arrest on the 13th of March last year. Firefighters Wheeler and Campbell Kenyon were at the Wardell Brigade Station during clean-up operations in the aftermath of the Northern Rivers floods when a member of the public drove up to seek urgent help for the man. Accompanied by Lieutenant Doug Mayfield from the Australian Defence Force, the firefighters arrived on scene within 8 minutes. Employing an AED and CPR, the men sustained the patient until paramedics arrived. Their prompt action and knowledge of CPR and the use of the AED made a vital contribution to saving the man's life. The patient has since been reunited with the firefighters, expressing his thanks for their life-preserving efforts. Firefighter Neil Wheeler's actions make him a deserving recipient of the Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation. The Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation, individual, Group Officer Gary Johnston, Northern Rivers, Area Northeastern. Northern Rivers Group Officer Gary Johnston is recognised for his exceptional service and commitment to the community in response to catastrophic flooding in 2022. Record flooding on the Wilson and Richmond rivers in late February and early March of that year caused widespread devastation in Lismore and surrounding communities across the region. For the next month, Group Officer Johnston worked tirelessly to coordinate and task crews to respond to an unprecedented number of requests for assistance, often in the most challenging of conditions. These included deploying RFS members to help notify the public of impending flooding, evacuate residents in low-lying areas, provide transport for medical supplies and other emergencies, help residents clear out their ruined possessions and hose out mud, sludge and sewage from homes, businesses, schools and other public infrastructure. For his contribution to the success of the flood response operation, skillful coordination and support for the community, Group Officer Gary Johnston is a worthy recipient of the Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation. The Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation, individual, Captain Todd McCallum, Mid-Murray, Area Southwestern. Captain Todd McCallum is recognised for his leadership and service to the Moama community throughout the extended 2022 flood emergency. When the small town flooded in October, Captain McCallum was on the front line leading his brigade in responding to multiple requests to help from impacted residents for more than a fortnight before the Moama sector was established. He then provided essential support to the sector commander, helping establish a control room in the brigade station, working tirelessly and providing critical local knowledge. He assisted in tasking arriving strike teams and continued assisting not only the Moama sector but also other responding agencies while still operating his own brigade. Demonstrating the utmost professionalism, Captain McCallum was well organised and provided clear direction. His resilience and leadership were notable every day throughout the 2-month flood emergency. For his skill, leadership and community service in trying circumstances, Captain McCallum is a deserving recipient of the Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation. The Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation for Unit, Berrigan Rural Fire Brigade, Southern Border, Area Southwestern. The Berrigan Rural Fire Brigade is recognised for its members' exceptional service during the catastrophic Black Summer fire season of 2019-20. Between the 20th of December 2019 and the 8th of January 2020, members of the brigade worked as part of strike teams across New South Wales, supporting their colleagues in the Glen Innes, Bega and Green Valley fires, among others. The Berrigan crew were deployed to the Green Valley fire located in the mountainous, forested, Gingelic, Lankeys Creek area on New Year's Eve 2019 when forecast catastrophic conditions struck. Just days later, on the 4th of January 2020, they again faced ferocious conditions threatening the evacuated township of Jingellic, working for some 18 hours on asset protection with no buildings or other assets lost. The team continued returning to the Green Valley area until the fire was declared under control. Of particular note is firefighter Ron Jinks, who had been a member of the brigade since the early 1990s before moving to Queensland 5 years ago. When Ron heard about the team, he drove 1,300 kilometres to join his crewmates. At 82 years of age, he was an integral part of the team, never stopping nor shirking a duty. Members performed beyond the call of duty, both individually and as a cohesive and committed unit, deserving of great credit for its members' resolute and dedicated service to the community in extreme fire conditions. The Berrigan Rural Fire Brigade is a worthy recipient of a Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation. The Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation Unit, the Community Risk Team, Area Operations, Area South Eastern. Members of the Area South Eastern Community Risk Team are recognised for their professional and decisive response in saving the life of a colleague. On the 20th of May 2021, a participant in the arduous pack test collapsed on the field unconscious, non-responsive and not breathing. The team managing the pack test, Ian Jauncey, Kevin Parkinson, Colin Knight, Beck Turner and Graham Pine, all qualified and experienced in advanced resuscitation techniques, immediately went to their colleagues' aid. While calling for medical assistance and supporting those on scene, the team coordinated life-saving first aid, employing defibrillation and advanced resus for an extended period of time to provide the casualty with the greatest possible chance of survival until the arrival of New South Wales ambulance. As a patient was transported to hospital, the team continued to render welfare and support to those present and ensured state operations and others were kept well informed. The 5 members provided extended support to their colleague, his family, the South Eastern mitigation crews and each other. As recognised by the responding New South Wales ambulance crew, the team was instrumental in saving the member's life. For their outstanding initiative and determined efforts to sustain their colleague in confronting circumstances, the members of the Area South East Community Risk Team are worthy recipients of a Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation. The Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation Unit, the State Training Academy Team, Preparedness and Capability, Training and Doctrine, Area Western. The New South Wales Rural Fire Service State Training Academy Team is recognised for its substantial contribution to the response to the COVID-19 pandemic across Western New South Wales in 2021. A lockdown of the Dubbo local government area was implemented on the 11th of August 2021 when COVID-19 was confirmed in the city. Coronavirus subsequently spread widely across the western and far west local health districts, with large areas of New South Wales subject to stay-at-home orders under a public health order. The Academy was swiftly activated as the Western Region Emergency Operations Centre under New South Wales emergency management arrangements. Operations to coordinate PCR testing and vaccinations across Western New South Wales were led from the EOC by New South Wales Police in collaboration with New South Wales Health, the Australian Defence Force, local government and other agency personnel. More than 456,000 vaccinations in communities across Western New South Wales were coordinated by the EOC. With up to 75 ADF personnel staged from the Academy, RFS staff performed critical roles including facility management, providing accommodation, meals, cleaning, EOC room configuration and IT support. They also provided assistance to the base camp, providing a manager, logistical support, resupply and on-site services, and performed routine rapid antigen testing on all on-site personnel ahead of the engagement of the St John Ambulance to conduct that operation. After 11 weeks of operation, the EOC was demobilised on the 29th of October and the Academy quickly reconfigured for training to resume just 3 days later. For their sustained and committed performance throughout this operation, the State Training Academy team is a worthy recipient of a Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation. As we've seen today, the RFS has a history in mitigating and fighting bushfires, but also many recipients today receiving awards for their exceptional efforts during the recent flooding emergencies that we've seen across New South Wales. The protracted and challenging flood events of the past year or so have been a testament to the versatility and capability, and we want to take the time to recognise the contribution of all RFS members involved in these operations.
At the moment, we're now cleaning out buildings that are completely inundated with mud. The business that we're working on at the moment has only recently opened, and it's quite frankly heartbreaking to see the efforts of the owner of this business has just gone. I guess being part of the RFS, we're used to putting out fires, but here we are helping people clean up after this terrible, terrible flood that's just completely decimated the main part of Eugowra and quite a lot of the houses in this town.
The boys over behind me have been pumping sand down boat ramps for the past couple of days, pumping sand and mud as much as we can out of houses, trying to help people get rid of some of their stuff, trying to clean up the debris and bits and pieces that have floated down the river. Everyone's had to throw out all of their furniture, all of their goods, everything they've owned. Like, everyone's lost so much down here, and it's not just this flood either, it's the last flood as well. So Tuesday morning we woke up and I had water about 4 inches from my front door. So we packed up, I grabbed my RFS gear and that was about all, and I left. And from that day I've been on an RFS boat, going up and down the river, delivering supplies, doing as much as I can. As soon as the water dropped, I did go over, I had a look at my house, it was full of mud, I lost everything. I've had the most help from, again, all of our RFS crews, cleaning my house out, cleaning my shed out, helping me out. We've got people from all over New South Wales that have come down to help, and it's great to see.
It was very slow moving to start with, but it was slow to go down as well in the first part of it. We were hampered with what we could, the places we could actually get to clean up. The sort of work we've been doing is pumping water out of yards, house clean-outs, shed clean-outs, moving all the flooded debris and that from yards. I don't think our station's seen as many people as it's seen the last 5 days or whatever.
So you can see how high the floodwater was by the debris that's caught up in the trees. So at this point here it's well over 2.5 metres over my head is how high the water was coming through here, and it would have come through quite quickly. The current would have been really, really strong, and it would have moved out over this way as well towards the homes and filled up the floodplain.
So again, we would like to take the time to recognise the contribution of all of our members across New South Wales who contributed so much during that time. The Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation Unit for the Coogin Rural Fire Brigade, Far North Coast, Area Northeastern. The Coogin Rural Fire Brigade is recognised for its tireless and committed efforts to support the community in response to catastrophic flooding in 2022. When torrential rainfall struck the Tweed Coast early on Monday the 28th of February, the brigade responded to assist the New South Wales SES to fill sandbags to meet public demand. With roads soon impassable to cars, the brigade started delivering sandbags in their appliances. Local residents took over filling of the sandbags, freeing the brigade to assist with the evacuation of more than 180 residents and travellers trapped on high ground on the M1 Pacific Motorway. Working in the darkness, the brigade evacuated the elderly and infirm, their pets and what few belongings that they could carry through the floodwaters to a waiting coach on Barney's Point Bridge. Multiple times throughout the night, the brigade rendezvoused with New South Wales ambulances on the highway, carrying patients from Kingscliff up an embankment to their appliances before safely traversing through floodwaters to more waiting ambulances to transport them to hospital. With the brigade and police, the lone emergency services on scene, about 3:30am, one of Coogin's trucks could no longer make it through the floodwater, which was rising to a height no one in living memory had witnessed. The crews parked both their vehicles on the highway overpass, instructing the remaining 20 people who needed to be evacuated to relocate to the overpass if needed, and promising that they would return for them in daylight. After a couple of hours' sleep, some in cars and others on a park bench, the members found floodwaters had started to abate and they were able to lead the remaining people to safety through the floodwaters in a convoy to the north. Members of the Coogin Rural Fire Brigade put the safety of others ahead of their own, working beyond expectation to support the community at risk in severe flooding and are worthy recipients of a Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation. The Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation Unit, Gunning Fish River Rural Fire Brigade, Southern Tablelands, Area South. The Gunning Fish River Rural Fire Brigade is recognised for its commitment to protecting the gunning community during a flood emergency in October last year. Called to assist the public at the motel gunning on the 7th of October, the brigade found Meadow Creek was rising rapidly and threatening to inundate the motel and residents. The crew acted swiftly to prevent the floodwater entering the buildings, organising supplies of sand from council and gathering sandbags from village residents before starting work to fill the sandbags and transport them to the properties. The crews worked for 6 hours without a break, building sandbag walls, redirecting water and setting up pumps to protect the two properties. The crews managed multiple challenges overnight, from sewer dump points flooding, a service station starting to flood and a number of homes coming under threat. For its members' resolute commitment in working beyond expectations to protect lives and property, the Gunning Fish River Rural Fire Brigade is the worthy recipient of a Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation. The Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation Unit, the Mid-Murray Support Rural Fire Brigade, Mid-Murray, Area Southwestern. The Mid-Murray Support Brigade is recognised for its sustained commitment to supporting impacted communities during the protracted and challenging flood event of 2022. As a result of significant rainfall in the catchment, the Mid-Murray district suffered prolonged flooding along the Murray River, Edward River, Wakul River and Billabong Creek systems from September through to December. The Support Brigade was the first responded to assist with sandbagging on the 7th of September, working resolutely to support the community until its last commitment was completed on the 8th of December. Brigade members were active for 47 days, contributing more than 170 individual work days. More attuned to supporting the district with activities such as communications, air base operations, bulk water and logistical support, the Brigade found itself in flood operations, filling and laying sandbags and assisting with levee works. Members also assisted with deliveries, moving vehicles and equipment and supporting the Emergency Operations Centre. Whatever the task, whatever the time, the Support Brigade turned out to assist. For its members' commitment, professionalism and willing support for the community when called upon, the Mid-Murray Support Brigade is awarded a Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation. The Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation, Moolameen Rural Fire Brigade, Mid-Murray, Area Southwestern. The Moolameen Rural Fire Brigade is recognised for its committed service to its local community throughout the protracted and challenging flood events of 2022. Significant rainfall in the catchment caused prolonged flooding along local river systems from September through to December. Moolameen, located at the junction of the Edward River and Billabong Creek, experienced a record flood exceeding the 1956 level. The Moolameen Brigade's relatively small number of volunteers provided essential support to the township and large surrounding farming community throughout that emergency. The brigade provided personnel required to manage flood operations every day, filling, delivering and laying sandbags and checking and maintaining levee banks and equipment, as well as assisting with the evacuation of the township. Staying on to support the community, the brigade welcomed and worked effectively with other agencies and out-of-area strike teams. Members actively supported their community in numerous ways, whether lending a sympathetic ear in stressful situations or facilitating access to the services and support needed when floodwater was impacting homes and businesses. They ferried essential goods through floodwater to keep the town functioning and regularly checked on vulnerable community members. The brigade, trained in fire operations, demonstrated its determination to protect its community by successfully applying its skill and experience to the management of the flood emergency. The Moolameen Rural Fire Brigade is a worthy recipient of a Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation. The Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation, Northern Rivers District, Northern Rivers, Area Northeastern. Rural Fire Brigades and Fire Control Centre staff in the Northern Rivers District are recognised for their exceptional service and commitment to the community in response to catastrophic flooding across the region in 2022. Record flooding on the Wilson and Richmond rivers in late February and early March of that year surpassed previous flood heights by more than 2 metres and caused widespread devastation in Lismore and surrounding communities. Brigades across the impacted region provided a remarkable and sustained response, with their members, many of whom were personally impacted, working tirelessly to assist and support thousands of residents suffering devastation and enormous loss. RFS members were a highly visible presence assigned countless tasks, including notifying the public of the impending floods, evacuating residents in low-lying areas and providing providing transport for medical supplies and emergencies. When the waters started to recede, members across the region spent several weeks undertaking the arduous task of helping communities start to recover, assisting distressed residents to remove all of their damaged possessions from their homes and hosing out mud, sludge and at times sewage from homes, businesses and critical infrastructure. The volunteers and community were supported by staff from the Northern Rivers Fire Control Centre to coordinate the logistics, resources and equipment essential to both the response and recovery operations. District staff and brigades continually performed beyond expectations throughout that flood crisis. For their extended and dedicated service to their community, a Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation is awarded to the Northern Rivers District Brigades and Fire Control Centre staff. The Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation Unit, the Wardell and Mearsham Vale Rural Fire Brigades, Far North Coast, Area North Eastern. Members of the Wardell and Mearsham Vale Brigades are recognised for their commitment and service to the community in the Wardell area during the destructive Northern Rivers floods in March last year. When Wardell became isolated, the brigade station quickly became the base for coordinated rescue and evacuation operations, not only in Wardell but also local communities. The operations were under the command of the Wardell captain, with brigade members working tirelessly to assist their community. Although several were themselves evacuated from their homes, their immediate reaction was to support similarly affected residents, guiding and transporting them to a hastily established evacuation centre. When conditions eased, the brigade commenced helping the community start its recovery, cleaning numerous flooded homes, while a recovery centre was arranged at a local church. Requests for assistance were received, resources tasked and meals regularly delivered to stranded individuals. Members also responded swiftly with an Australian Defence Force member to provide first aid to a patient suffering a cardiac arrest, sustaining the casualty until the arrival of New South Wales ambulance crews. Members unable to reach Wardell, they were also instrumental in assisting people in the Lismore area during emergency evacuations and the later clean-up operations. The members of the Wardell and Mearsham Vale Rural Fire Brigade showed leadership and initiative to provide the local community essential emergency assistance during a time of crisis, and they are worthy recipients of a Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation. And finally this afternoon, the Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation Unit, St John Ambulance South Australia, New South Wales Flood Deployment, Mid-Murray Area Western. St John Ambulance South Australia is recognised for its exceptional support to the New South Wales RFS and the community during flood response operations across Western New South Wales in November last year. A St John team was deployed to Deniliquin from November 7 to 14, providing forward support to RFS crews and local communities. They supplied immediate access to first aid services to deployed crews, preventative health measures and assistance in sandbagging operations. This first aid response was critical to a number of crew members who required specialist medical intervention in response to their exposure to contaminated floodwaters. The team also provided outstanding support to the community, engaging with residents to earn their strong trust and acceptance. They worked to assess and relocate at-risk residents and assisted in the evacuation of a number of people who had previously refused to leave their homes despite the efforts of family and RFS members. Other families' suitability to remain in their homes was assessed and suitable plans put in place for their welfare in collaboration with family and local services. The St John team provided the highest level of service to the emergency services and residents of places like Deniliquin, Moolameen, Tulibuck and Goodnight. Their commitment to serving the community is in keeping with the finest of traditions of the emergency services. The St John Ambulance South Australia team is a worthy recipient of a Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation. Rob Shane, you can now take a seat. Thank you, and congratulations to all of our recipients who are here at the Dubbo Training Academy with us today. Before we do wrap up this afternoon, we would like to turn our attention to some recipients who were unable to make the ceremony today, so we'll run through these quickly. On the 23rd of September 2022, 2 vehicles were washed off the Magrain Way at Tullamore by the swollen Gangaran Creek. Multiple brigades responded, traversing flooded roads and the vast darkness of night to assist adults and children clinging to trees in the fast-flowing water. So the following 3 recipients are recognised for their contributions to this rescue operation. They are the Commissioner's Commendation for Bravery individual, Group Captain Ross Newbigging, the Mid-Lachlan Valley Area Western. As the first arriving officer, Group Captain Ross Newbigging swiftly and accurately triaged the scene, prioritising the tasking according to the individual's condition, location and risk. His calm and decisive leadership ensured 4 people were rescued from the swollen creek, and Group Captain Newbigging is a worthy recipient of the Commissioner's Commendation for Bravery. Commissioner's Commendation for Bravery individual, Firefighter Josh Newbigging, Mid-Lachlan Valley Area Western. When one of the casualties fell silent from exhaustion and shock, Firefighter Josh Newbigging waded into the chest-deep water to determine her location. Re-establishing communication, he provided encouragement and reassurance that help was on the way, ensuring that she was able to be rescued and transferred to safety. Firefighter Newbigging courageously put the welfare of others before his own in dangerous conditions and is a worthy recipient of the Commissioner's Commendation for Bravery. And the Commissioner's Commendation for Bravery individual, Firefighter Thomas Newbigging, Mid-Lachlan Valley Area Western. With the nearest flood rescue capability an hour away, Firefighter Thomas Newbigging launched a small underpowered punt to reach 2 casualties in a tree, safely transferring them on board and providing initial treatment for shock and hypothermia. Firefighter Newbigging's calm forethought and courage in putting the welfare of others before his own makes him a worthy recipient of the Commissioner's Commendation for Bravery. Also today, Commissioner's Commendation for Service individual, Firefighter Mavis Goodlad, the Northern Rivers Area Northeastern. Firefighter Mavis Goodlad is recognised for her diligent service to the Melangani, I'm glad she's not here, Rural Fire Brigade over 37 years. Firefighter Goodlad's sustained and value service makes her a worthy recipient of the Commissioner's Commendation for Service. The Commissioner's Commendation for Service individual, Firefighter Rosanna Joshua, Southern Tablelands Area Southeastern. Firefighter Rosanna Joshua is recognised for her service to the community during the response to the catastrophic Northern Rivers floods in 2022. Deployed as part of the Lake George Monero Southern Tablelands Task Force, Firefighter Joshua displayed initiative well beyond expectations of a newly qualified member on their first active duty day. Demonstrating maturity beyond her years and experience, Firefighter Joshua is a most worthy recipient of the Commissioner's Commendation for Service. The Commissioner's Commendation for Service individual, Group Captain David Lang, Mid-Murray, Area Southwestern. He's recognised for his service to the community in Western New South Wales during the protracted and challenging flood events of 2022 and is a deserving recipient of the Commissioner's Commendation for Service. The Commissioner's Commendation for Service individual, Captain Jeffrey Whitney and Firefighter Cheryl Whitney, Northern Rivers, Area Northeastern. Captain Jeffrey Whitney and firefighter Cheryl Whitney are both recognised for their commitment to the Northern Rivers community and significant contribution to the response to the catastrophic flooding events, and they are worthy recipients of the Commissioner's Commendation of Service. The Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation, Individual Group Officer Christine Hartley, Northern Rivers Area Northeastern, recognised for her significant contribution to the success of the 2022 Northern Rivers flood emergency and a worthy recipient of the Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation. The Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation individual, Senior Deputy Captain John Holmes, Northern Rivers Area Northeastern, recognised for his diligent service and unwavering commitment to the Malangali Rural Fire Brigade and community for more than 50 years, particularly as a valued member of both the RFS and the local community, a worthy recipient of the Commissioner's Certificate of Commendation. Can you please congratulate all of our recipients of the awards today? Pulling together an event like this is no mean feat, and would like to acknowledge everyone who has had a hand involved in organising today's event. Not just one, but two of them, and these events do take a lot of effort to put on. The presentation of our awards is one of the most important dates in our calendar in the service and for our members, and I know how much effort, thought and respect you've all put in to ensuring that our ceremonies today have been a fitting tribute to our members' commitment, service and courage. So in particular, can we please thank the New South Wales State Ceremonial Unit who have presided over this afternoon's event. Also to the Events and Awards team and also the Media and Communications team for their contributions. And can we also acknowledge the great work of the crew here at the Dubbo Training Academy in helping to put on today's event as well. So that is it for this afternoon. It has been a big day. We hope that you've enjoyed it, and we hope that your family and friends have been able to take part in today's celebration as well. In conclusion, I would like to ask all of our award recipients, don't go too far. We want you to meet outside the building, the big red wall with the RFS logo on it. Adam will be out there to take photos immediately after this. So as soon as we wrap up, head out there. He's happy to take photos with family members and his groups and everything as well. Invited guests, you're more than welcome to make your way just outside the auditorium where refreshments are available. To those who have joined us online as well, thank you for tuning in. We do appreciate you making the time as well. Thank you and safe travels.